Welcome to Whole Word Ministries. Thank you for joining me today. There's one question that comes to every believer sooner or later. It comes from grieving parents, from skeptical friends, from hurting neighbors, and sometimes from our own hearts. If Yahweh God is loving, why does he allow suffering? This isn't an academic question. It's a human question, raw, emotional, and urgent. And as followers of Yeshua Messiah, Jesus Christ, we must be ready to answer it with truth, tenderness, and wisdom. Today's message is not only about understanding suffering, it's about learning how to help others understand it, how to speak with compassion, and how to point hurting hearts toward the God who sees, weeps, and redeems. First principle, start with compassion, not explanation. When someone asks, why does God allow suffering? They're rarely asking for a theological lecture. They're asking from a place of pain. So the first step is simple, lead with compassion, not answers, not logic. Not explanations, compassion. Romans 12 verse 15 says, weep with those who weep. Before we explain anything, we must show the heart of Messiah. How to respond. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Your pain matters to God. I don't want to rush past what you're feeling. People will remember your compassion before they remember your explanation. Second principle, affirm the question's legitimacy. Many believers feel nervous when asked this question, but Scripture doesn't silence it. Job asked it, David asked it, Jeremiah asked it, even Yeshua cried out, my God, why? So when someone asks you, why does God allow suffering? You can confidently say, that's a good and honest question. The Bible takes it seriously, and so do I. We don't need to be afraid of the hard questions or shy away from them. Third principle, explain that the world is not as God intended. When people ask why suffering exists, they're really asking, is God the source of the pain? And Scripture answers clearly, no. Genesis shows us a world Yahweh called very good, a world without death, disease, injustice, or grief. But the world we live in now is not that world. Romans 8 verse 22, for we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. Creation groans, is wounded, fractured, and awaiting restoration. How to explain it simply? God did not design the world to be this way. Suffering exists because creation is broken. God's heart breaks over suffering more than ours ever could. This helps people see that suffering is not evidence against Yahweh's love. It's evidence that the world is not yet healed. Fourth principle, clarify that human choices cause real harm. Many people blame Yahweh God for suffering that actually comes from human decisions. Scripture teaches that Yahweh entrusts humanity with real responsibility and the free will to choose. And tragically, human freedom can be misused. Abuse, violence, neglect, injustice, these are not God's actions. They are human actions. How to explain it gently? God allows human freedom, but he never approves of the harm people cause. Much suffering comes from human choices, not God's character. God sees every injustice, and he will judge it. This helps people separate God's love from human sin. Deuteronomy 30 verse 19, I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore choose life, that you and your offspring may live. Fifth principle, show that God enters suffering. Christianity is unique among worldviews because it teaches this astonishing truth. God does not stay distant from suffering. He enters it. Yeshua came as a child, fragile, vulnerable, threatened. He lived in a world of injustice. He suffered innocently. He died unjustly. This means that when someone suffers, Yahweh is not watching from afar. He's the God who has suffered. He's the God who has wept. He's the God who understands. Isaiah 43 verse 2, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. How to explain it? God doesn't just allow suffering, he stepped into it himself. Yeshua knows what pain feels like. God is not far from your suffering, he is near. This changes the conversation. It moves Yahweh from the courtroom to the hospital room. Sixth principle, emphasize that God redeems suffering without calling it good. Romans 8, verse 28. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. Paul does not say that all things are good. It says God works in all things for good. There's a difference. Yahweh does not call tragedy good. He does not call injustice good. He does not call suffering good. But he can take what is broken and weave redemption through it. How to explain it? God doesn't cause all suffering, but he can use suffering to bring good. He can bring healing, growth, compassion, and strength out of pain. Nothing suffered is wasted in God's hands. This gives people hope without minimizing their pain. Seventh principle, point to God's final answer, restoration. When someone asks, why does God allow suffering? They want to know, will suffering always exist? And Scripture answers with a resounding no. Revelation 21, verse 4, he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away. Revelation 21, verse 4 promises no more death, no more pain, no more crying, no more injustice, no more suffering. Yahweh's final answer to suffering is not an explanation, it is restoration. How to explain it? God will wipe away every tear. Suffering is temporary, God's healing is eternal. The story ends with joy, not pain. This lifts people's eyes from the present to the promise. Psalm 34, verses 18 to 19. Yahweh is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but Yahweh delivers him out of them all. Eighth principle, encourage believers to be God's compassionate presence. Finally, when someone asks why God allows suffering, we must remember we are part of God's answer. James 1, verse 27, religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unstained from the world. We're called to care for the vulnerable. Yeshua welcomed children, protected them, blessed them. The early church rescued abandoned infants, cared for the sick, and sheltered the hurting. How to explain it? God calls us to comfort the suffering. We are his hands and feet in a hurting world. Our compassion reflects his heart. People may not remember every theological point, but they'll remember your love. So how do we answer the question, why does a loving God allow suffering? We answer it with compassion, honesty, biblical clarity, the truth about a broken world, the reality of human choices, the nearness of Messiah Yeshua, the promise of redemption, the calling to compassion. And we answer it with the confidence that Yahweh God is loving, present, and working all things toward a future where suffering will be no more. Yahweh bless you and keep you. Yahweh make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.